Hi, JJ. So this is an office hours. We're trying something new. We want to just have a more informal opportunity for our Dartisans communities to ask us questions. And with the alpha of Dart M3 landing, this was it this week? Last week? This week?
It was this week.
This week.
Yeah.
The new Libraries V2 is now available for everyone to play with. This is a significant milestone for the Dart project. And it's an opportunity for us to go and update all of our code to the new awesome features, streams, collections, and various other changes to the APIs. And so here's the office hours, an opportunity for you guys to just reach out and ask us questions about what's going on. And then what we really would love to do is help you guys upgrade your packages and libraries to Dart M3. So this is a fantastic time to just ask us how to update your code. You can do this by screen sharing your screen or just asking us questions. And this is really just an opportunity for you guys to ask us what's up. So if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and fire away, and we're here to help you out.
Seth.
Adam.
Hey, so I have one question about migration. Should we be moving towards the streams pattern more than just using the auto update feature? And a follow-up to that is just a warning to everyone who's upgrading with stuff that depends on JS interop. If you change the library name for JS interop, your js.map calls will actually get transformed to js.mappedby, which is incorrect. Bug file. But just keep that in mind if you do a lot of JS interop dependency.
That's an awesome bit of feedback. That's if you use the cleanup ability of Dart Editor, right?
Yeah, it gets a little too aggressive. I mean, everything else so far has worked pretty clean except for that one thing I noticed. And it probably happens with anything that's called map where you rename a library, but I noticed it for the JS interop.
Any chance that there's a bug for this?
Yeah, I found one.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Good, thanks.
Good. So going back to your original question, should we as the Dart community move more towards streams? I think the answer is resounding yes. It's already happening in the core libraries themselves. For instance, let's see, HTML, Dart HTML is now adopting the stream paradigm or the stream libraries. Dart.io is, I think there's a branch for Dart.io refactoring towards streams. So yeah, please start using streams for your asynchronous version of iteration. If you think about traditional iterators, or that is like for loops, right? So that's a pull model. You're gonna synchronously pull from the iterator. Streams are kind of the asynchronous push model of these sequence of events will happen when I'm ready, and you will be notified of those. So sometimes you want a traditional iterator. Sometimes you want to have a more push-based iteration, and that's what streams are. So certainly try to use streams. Good question.
Who here's actually tried to update for the latest library changes? Who's like gone through the the process with their code?
You have.
No, that's a great question. Yeah, who has who's tried to upgrade to M3?
So I've upgraded to M3 many of my projects, and actually Adam helped out with Spectre doing some of the upgrades. For the most part, it was a very straightforward upgrade experience. I'm trying to think. The biggest change I had was I had used some of the future.chain method. And the way you can translate a future chain to the new API is to just replace chain with then. That's it. So long as the then clause returns a future, it will act like a chain.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And if you ever used dot value,
yes,
that also is now just dot then. Dot then is it. That's the way everything sort of converges to dot then, and that simplifies things.
It does simplify, but I think John brings up a subtle point. What you return from inside dot then
yes,
sort of dictates what's going to happen next.
There's a real implicit piece of information there, which is if you return, like, say, an int or some instance of another class, then it operates just like then used to. But now if you return a future, then it's a chain.
You can chain it off of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I also know that you've got to import Dart async, Dart
Yes.
colon async now if you want to use future. That's in fact, when I run, okay, so hot tip, if you guys are upgrading, use the editor's cleanup feature. There's going to be a little quirks like Adam's pointing out with JS Interop, but generally it's going to save you a lot of time. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't also import Dart colon async for you.
Oh,
So it'll run all the, like, it'll switch chain to
swap it.
then.
Yeah.
But then you have to go in and type in import Dart
Ah.
async. So heads up on that. Luckily, it's just one line.
Yeah.
But
Another little quirk, and I expect the editor's automatic upgrade feature to fix it, is it's no longer futures.wait. It's future.wait.
Yeah.
So that's a very easy fix. But that was actually littered throughout my code, and so I just had to go in. And,
Yeah.
no, that's a really good point.
Also-
Futures is gone.
Also,
Or will be gone.
timer is
Now-
no longer in. Timer is an async,
That's right.
and that's another thing that you may have imports to other things. .io.
Mhm.
Right.
Another bug that maybe should be filed is when you import Dart.json and you go through the upgrade process, maybe the cleanup tool should also rename the JSON library for you. So it's like import Dart.json as capital JSON, because most people are just
that's a good one, actually.
That's a nice cleanup to add.
Now the JSON library has stringify and parse
Mhm.
as top-level functions,
Mhm.
whereas before they were static methods in the JSON class.
Now, do you like that change?
What I did was what Adam suggested, where I went in and replaced every import Dart.json to import Dart.json as JSON, all capital letters, and then you don't have to change your code.
Cool.
I think this is similar to the old
Stringify
map.
is too general to be in the global namespace.
I don't know. I like the idea that we can take advantage of top level functions, and you can always just import with a prefix, and that works okay. But yeah, for a class that contains just two static methods, like use the top level functions. I don't know.
I know I go back and forth because it is cleaner in a way, but I don't know. That was a weird change. And I have some of my other classes have stringify and parse in them, and so I just feel like it's a name that's going to be used all over the place.
Okay.
So by changing the import to be as JSON, one, I maintain compatibility with existing code, but then two, it's like I've now optionally encapsulated it into its own quasi namespace.
Yeah. So you have the choice, but it's a good tip. You're right. Most of the time, we're going to want to do as JSON uppercase, just to make it easier to migrate.
Exactly. For migration, it becomes trivial then. Nothing has changed with JSON if you change your import line.
Cool.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Going forward, probably go to the model where we don't rename the library, but for all the code that already exists, and there's a pretty heavy amount where every library has some import of JSON, just makes that migration pattern much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an important thing that I found out when I was porting Dart HTML5 samples, and that's that not everything that you need to update will be caught by the type system, and so it's really, really important to run the code. So I don't really have unit tests for Dart HTML5 samples because this stuff's kind of hard to unit test, and so there's stuff that breaks that has no type warnings at all, and so it's really important to actually run the code.
Yeah, JJ, I've been bitten by something similar to that in the past, and that's why I manually migrated all of my code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I actually went down that road, and the auto update feature missed a couple things, and then it became this weird game of what did it catch and what didn't it. So
yeah, I wasn't even using the auto update. I was just looking for errors and fixing them, and when they were fixed, I was assuming everything was working. And it's just not the case, because there's some subtle ways that a bunch of things come together so that, you have to run the code. Things have changed enough. I found a couple bugs for things that might have been able to be caught, but, you got to run the code.
Good advice. JJ, was there something specific that you were more taken by surprise when you did this migration? Something specific advice you could give to everyone?
Yeah, so I don't know about specific advice besides running your code, but there were a couple ones that bit me. It used to be that when you would call a function that would go off into WebKit land, and you wanted the JavaScript default, you could just pass null, and it would automatically treat that as the JavaScript default. But that no longer works, and so you have to explicitly pass the JavaScript default if that's what you want. There's some really weird corner cases with some of the way that Dart API doesn't quite match up with the JavaScript.
Did we lose JJ?
I think we lost JJ. But good advice on his way out.
I think it's also. I get the impression that that's going to be the direction that we're moving in general, right? We're moving away from add event handler, remove event handler to streams, and that's a big divergence from JavaScript.
Yeah.
So I think you should try and write code towards Dart and not rely on some compatibility with JavaScript.
Yeah. I think that was part of Adam's question, right? Is should we just go ahead and embrace the Stream API as the way to fire off this sequence of events? I think the answer is absolutely. Yeah.
Streams are the future. Right?
No question.
The future is here today.
So another thing that really bit me is that I was calling this function that used to return a list. And so I was receiving it into a local variable, and my local variable even said list. I wasn't using var, I was using list. But then that changed to iterable. But in Dart, you could downcast without an explicit cast. And so, Dart looks at that and it's like, oh, you're downcasting. You must know that it's actually a list, not just an iterable. Well, the fact of the matter is it wasn't a list, it was an iterable. And so then when I tried to index into that list, it crashed. And so that means that, because of the way our type system works, it's very, very friendly. But in that case, you could only catch that problem at runtime. It won't be caught with a static warning.
Sure. Yeah, so you need to remember to call toList, toSet, to whatever.
Yeah.
Or be aware that something's now return iterable as well. Yeah, both of those things.
Yeah.
But like if you have a large code base, you might not know where to look to find those problems. And that's why I'm reiterating again, the only way to find those problems, as far as I could tell, is to run the code.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I got hit by that too in mapped by. So mapped by I think returns iterable, and I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
The second thing is mapped by also returns read-only. I think a read-only view to the list, or something like that. So I actually had to pop it out into another, just call toList, and then I actually got an editable list. And I'll just make one more plug before I kind of step out of here to let someone else join and ask questions. I realized that I've refactored two separate types of code bases. The ones that used a lot of the optional the optional types seem to refactor much better than the code bases that didn't use any. So I think that was a big win for the optional type system and the Dart editor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
That's great.
Actually, this is a good question for the people who have joined. Do you use the static type annotations to annotate your local method or function level variables? Anyone, just join in. It's okay.
So I could tell you the rule that I've been following for Dart HTML5 samples. I explicitly state the type if it's not dead obvious looking at the code. Now, if I'm calling a function and that function's not in my file, it's coming from elsewhere, then I won't know the type unless I look at the code, and so I will specify type. But if I'm setting a variable into some static value where I could just reason about the code directly, then I just use var. So I mean, for me, it's really like if I could look at this code and without any other code, and I could mentally figure out the types, then I use var. Otherwise, I use a real type, and that's kind of a subtle variation on what we normally do, which is just always use var locally. But
well, to be specific,
I like it.
To be specific, the type, the style guide says prefer using var. The style guide is not use only var inside methods.
That's right. And I think we had a long discussion about the word prefer. And so, yeah, prefer.
But it's totally okay to use the type annotations if that's what you want. And that's why I'd love to take that poll, because I'm kind of curious.
So coming from C++, I cannot break the habit of using type annotations.
That's
okay. The only time that I've ever that I kill out the type is when I'm explicitly calling a constructor, because then it's just very redundant. Or when the line of text, because the type name is so large that it's like going over the 80 character limit. I'm like, well, you know what? Let's just shrink that down to
abstract class factory class factory.
Yeah, exactly.
var random equals new random.
Yes.
But you would not do random random equals new random.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Because the type is already on that line of code.
Yeah.
But your OCD doesn't kick in when you don't put random at the start?
It's hard to break the habit, but
Yeah.
I'm starting to get there.
Okay,
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I
mean,
like to hear that.
Vars are there for a reason, right?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
So
Anyone else?
hello to the new people that have joined. Yeah, this is an office hours for you guys. So ask away. What do you want to know? It doesn't have to be specifically about M3, although that's what we're all trained up to do to help you guys today. But what's on your mind? All right, and I'm going to start calling on people's names if you guys don't.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Are people talking and we're not hearing?
Yeah, just if someone's talking, we can't hear you. Just FYI.
Can you hear me, sir? Hi, guys.
There you go. Yes. Hi, Ali.
Hey. Sir, you mentioned in your mail that the format on.click.add would be replaced with on.mouse.click.list, right? So is that going to be replaced or both are going to be supported? Because I don't see a warning in the Dart editor. I don't see a warning on the old format.
There is no warning. Yeah.
That's a good question. So you barely came through, so I'll reiterate for you. The question was, the recommendation is to move to the new stream-based APIs in Dart :HTML, which would be like element.onClick.listen, which replaces the old way to do it, element.on.click.add. But as Ali points out, and what we've noticed too, is that there's no warning in the old way to do it. On.click.add does not give any sorts of warnings. I suspect that's because the engineers are being really nice and giving us this grace period. Maybe what we should do is file a bug and ask them to add @deprecated to some of those APIs. But the general advice is move to .onClick.listen ASAP, because the old way will be removed as far as I understand. So, yeah.
So, Seth, I was thinking I might just wait until the warnings come out because that'll make my life so much easier. What do you think about that?
Well, if you got cycles now, the advice is to move to the new APIs as soon as you can. A, they're going to get ripped out anyway, the old ones, but B, if you notice something when you go to the new APIs and you provide some feedback for us, that's really, really valuable. So I would say as soon as you can, do it and let us know how it goes. So that, like JJ, when you move to some of the new APIs, you had some really good feedback and insights into the process. Okay, so what we can do now is Shailen's actually prepared a couple samples using the new APIs, and so we definitely, please do ask some questions here in the office hours. But Shailen, do you think we can show just a couple of some of these new samples?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Well, so I want to, not knowing fully who's going to be showing up and who wasn't, I sort of prepared something that starts with very basic stuff and moves up. I don't know how much of the basic stuff I should skip. Should I just go over it fast?
I think you should go ahead and show some of the basic stuff. And,
Okay.
And Ali, if you don't mind, can you mute? But of course, if you have a question, go ahead and unmute.
So why don't we start with the basics, and if we start to hear a lot of people say, you know what, this is too simple, then we'll skip ahead.
I like it.
So speak up if this is way too basic.
And if you can't see the fonts, please let us know. We try to embiggen them a bunch, but we can embiggen them more. So do this if you can't see anything.
Is it embiggen or bigify?
Oh, embiggenify.
Embiggenify
Yeah.
is a good one.
It's
All
a
right.
technical term.
So it's our camera is up there, my screen is down there. So if I'm burrowing down like this, it's not because I don't want to look at you guys, but this is how it is. All right. So example one, really simple. We got completer. I create this little function called getNum. Creates a completer, completes it, and returns completer.future. Just going to give you the number 4, and then.
So wait, what are we seeing here? What is this? What are you demonstrating here?
So I'm demonstrating like futures 101.
Got it. Futures
So
101. What is a future?
A future. What is a? It's hard to answer the question without using the word future.
Oh,
In the explanation.
How about
okay.
a promise?
Huh?
How about a promise?
It's a
Promise
promise
to use the word future.
A future is, well, I'm trying to do this without using future. Or,
Don't worry, use a feature.
Okay. That something will be given to you in the future. It's not there now. And when it's given to you, then you will do something.
I like it. Okay.
Right?
That's
So the when then plays nicely with the API .then, right?
Why are futures important?
Well, sometimes things are expensive, and you don't want your application to block. We don't think like that in Dart.
Okay.
We think asynchronously.
And specifically, we don't think that way because Dart is a single event loop execution environment. Think of it just a queue, right? And you're going to just pop off all these little work items. They may be callbacks, they may be instructions. Anytime one of those guys does something really expensive, you're blocking everything else. And so if you can return this token, this future token,
yeah,
you return it right now, the event loop can keep going, and when that value is ready to be given, it can just be put on the event loop, and eventually, oh, yep, I'm ready now.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to keep doing other things, and when you have something to give me, then I'll listen to you.
I like it.
All right? So unless anybody has objections, this little page is over. I'll go
No.
oh,
No.
we
Okay.
haven't.
You have an objection?
What is a
Yes.
what is a completer?
Objection.
What is a completer?
Why do you have
John,
that?
what
Why
is
do you
a
have that
completer?
bit of code there?
Well, so this is how you return a future, and
So maybe one way to think about it is, if you look at, there is a receiver, there's a thrower and a catcher.
Okay.
Right?
yeah,
So the completer is the thrower. The completer is this object that eventually will throw the value to the catcher, the
Mhm.
future.
and it's not aware of who's
then,
catching.
yes.
It has no notion of that. It throws somebody.
So the pattern you see with the code there is you instantiate a new completer class, and then from within that function you return completer.future. You don't return the value that you've completed upon. So that future then gets grabbed by the calling code. They assign their then method to it, and then whenever the completer calls the complete method, that future becomes the value itself, and its then method calls.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now this is a bit contrived example because this doesn't show the long-running or expensive asynchronous operation. Imagine inside getNum would be like a database query.
Yes.
All right, here. So since you brought that up, let's
do
go to
it.
the second example.
Yes. Okay. Here we go. This drives it home. Okay.
So
Perfect.
I didn't actually tell Seth to segue so beautifully, but it,
No,
here we go.
we're linked. I like it.
I actually don't think I need .io, but I'm not going to try to break anything. All right, here we go. So it's the same getNum. Now it takes 2 seconds
Before it completes.
before it completes. Now, so
It takes 2 seconds before it returns a value, but we should say that this function though is going to return instantly.
perfect.
The getNum is going to return instantly.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah. So there's 2 things. So getNum has 3 parts. You create a completer object. That's the first part. Completer.complete is the second part. Okay, it's wrapped in a timer here, but that's what it is. And then returning completer.future. Because most people think very synchronously about code, it's tempting to think, okay, the first thing happens, and the second thing happens, and the third thing happens. The whole point of async here is the first thing happens. Yeah, you get a completer object right away. The last thing happens, you return it. And then the second thing happens when it happens.
Correct.
Yeah, at some point later.
At some point. It could happen really right away if you're just returning the number 4. But if you're waiting 2 seconds and then returning the number 4, but it happens 2 seconds later.
And this is what I like about completer. You can take that instance completer and, thanks to lexical scoping, access it from deep within a bunch of callbacks, or you can pass it to some other guy. So whoever's got a handle on that completer can complete it, and then magically, whoever's listening on that future will get that value somewhere else.
Exactly.
I like that.
So,
Okay.
so let me run this. So notice that the returning showed up. I don't know if you can see it.
No.
It's kind of small because you can't ambignify.
And bignify.
That's a bug.
So
It's
for those of
unambiguifiable.
you
All right, here.
who aren't in the room with us, the first line says returning ... and you can see that print statement clearly in the source code.
Okay, and I've highlighted it down here. So you have to trust us. So that's really what it says. And then the 4 shows up a couple of seconds later.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
So here in our main, when
Actually,
we call,
if we could be more explicit, what happens after 2 seconds is that the then statement executes.
Yeah.
Correct.
then has nothing to do until it gets something.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So getNum.then is
What you're doing is you're queuing in the future when the completer has completed, call this function, in which case is a closure, which just prints the value.
okay. So
this is the pattern that you're going to see over and over and over again in code that uses completers and futures. You instantiate a completer inside that function, you return completer.future, and then the calling function is typically going to be chained immediately with a .then.
Yes.
Right.
And futures are really great for one-time events.
Yep.
I want to get a value, and there's only going to be one value that's going to come out of this thing.
I want to do an HTTP request, and when it is finished, then I want to print the JSON or parse the JSON and get something out of it.
right.
Now, contrast that a little bit with, say, streams. Right now, the Stream API is designed to allow you to spit out a sequence or series of these events. Future is really a one-time deal. Like I'm waiting for one kind of event to happen, and when I'm done, that's it.
So my go-to examples for future versus stream is a future is an HTTP request. It's like this single thing that you kick off, and it's going to take a while, and it'll complete. Whereas a stream is an on-click. The user could be clicking over and over and over again, and you're not requesting the click to occur. You're just being told that it happened.
And many, many clicks can happen.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Or
By the way, Nathan, oh, go ahead, JJ.
Or reading, my favorite is reading lines from a file. You could have a stream where it's giving you a bunch of lines coming from a file, and then you could modify that stream to create another stream, which is all the lines coming from a file, UTF-8 decoded, and then you could create another stream coming from the original stream, in which case you break it on tabs. And so I think of it as Unix pipes in a certain sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of analog there between streams and Unix pipes.
Yeah.
This sounds like a good segue to get into streams. Do you have some stream stuff for us?
Yeah, I can get.
Or are we jumping ahead?
Well, depends on what we want to do. There's no jumping ahead.
Do you guys have any questions about the basic kind of concepts about completers and futures? And if you're shy, we've got a chat. Okay, perfect. Sorry, guys. You should definitely use chat as well. If that's fine. We'll start actually monitoring this now. I'm a Java programmer, so it's in my blood to use static type, but trying var out. Okay, cool. Thanks, Frank.
I'm a C++ programmer, Frank, and I'm in the same vein. It's very much just in my blood to put the types everywhere. I like it. It's very verbose.
To me, either you use types or you don't. So
I don't know. I think there's definitely a middle ground. I'm going to disagree.
Well, clearly in Dart there is a middle ground.
In Dart.
But so it's
Are there other
adjustment.
languages?
No. What I mean is Dart.
Actually,
in the way my head is wired, I'm saying either I put vars everywhere or I put random equals new random. So it takes a little adjusting to say, okay, I don't need to do this verbose thing everywhere.
Oh, you mean traditionally that's how your brain was wired.
Interestingly enough, C++ is actually moving towards the Dart way. In C++ 11, they introduced the auto keyword, which just like Dart's var keyword, it just automatically deduces the type based on the right-hand side.
So we should probably be really specific about that. So in Dart, var is not like auto, right? In Dart, var is a stand-in for dynamic.
Yes.
Now the editor, and I think there's a flag in the editor. You can be like, be a little bit smarter, but it's going way above and beyond what the language spec was saying. Is
true.
Var is dynamic. There is no auto. But I write code with the checkbox for the editor that says do some extra inferencing for me. Definitely, I think it's super helpful.
I guess so. In that sense, they're not the same, but the programmers are moving towards that way where it's like I don't need to write out the type. If the compiler or the tool can deduce the type for me, why write it out?
Anyway, guys, we're watching the chat now, so go ahead and use that, or just wave your hands and speak up. That's why we're here for you. But you've got some more in futures then, I think.
Yeah, actually, I played around with error handling in futures yesterday.
Oh, good topic.
I got deep into it because I kept getting bitten. I wasn't sure what was going wrong.
Okay.
So if you're trying to use .then in the editor, let's just try it here, okay? Tell me if you guys can see this. Okay. Notice it tells you that, it takes an on error.
Okay, so these are two different callbacks.
Yeah, so basically it's a common pattern, right? When things go well, do something. When things go badly, do something else.
Okay.
Right? Beware of on error. And if we have time, I'm going to try to convince you to never use it and use better things that Dart gives you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go through that quickly. So here's, close this. That doesn't matter. All right, here we go. Okay, so here's a simple error handling. So you got a function named foo, which should be returning a number, but it doesn't. It throws.
Okay.
And you have another function called getNum, which is the standard one for all our examples. And this one returns a future.
Okay.
Right? But this time, it calls foo internally, and then it uses complete error.
So here you're writing getNum with the expectation that something bad may happen. So you're smart, you write the try, the catch. Okay, and that's where completer comes in again.
Right. So here we go. So if things go well, we put the value of whatever foo gives us into val, and we return that. Completer.complete, the same stuff we had seen before, we're good to go. If things don't go well, we need to do this.
Okay.
This is how you handle this is how you basically throw arrays in the async context.
Mm-hmm.
If you just write throw, I don't think it kind of sort of just falls apart.
Well, hopefully you have an example of that, because that's where I think the on error might come in. But you're right. This is you expect something may happen.
Yeah.
Let's do the right thing. Complete error. Okay.
Yeah. So whatever is returning a future should handle errors that it gets from somewhere else or raises internally, and emit those errors using a complete error. Okay. Then this is what your handling of all of that looks like. So here we go. We call getNum. We put a then, and this part, let's see if I can highlight this, is the success.
Okay.
Right? We get the value for whatever, and we print it. But we're not going to get it the way this is written, because foo, as we said, throws, right? So then you should just call .catch error, not on error, and I'll explain in a minute why.
Yeah. So let's actually point that out, because you're not, this catch error handler is not part of the then call, right? You're actually chaining something to the end. So
That's
then,
right. Yeah,
and then chain on a catch error to the future itself.
that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying do this, and then if there's failure, use catch error to catch that. In this case, let's just run it. It says not going to give you an int. It catches that error.
Okay.
So there's an important thing. Some of my code was calling basically getNum and getting a future, and then I would do it in two statements. I would do a future dot then, and then I would do a future dot catch error. And that is not the right thing. You need to do it in a single chain.
Excellent point, JJ. You should. Why don't you reiterate that, because that's a tricky one.
So if you you call getNum and it returns a future, and some of my code was saying future.then and then later future.catch error, but because the way futures work, that it ends up setting up two different chains of like future handlers, and it just that is not the right thing. So if you're gonna use catch error, you want to chain it.
Excellent. So, JJ, we did. Thank you for bringing this up. We did what you should not do. I think this is what you're saying, right? Don't do this.
Don't do that.
Right.
Because essentially you have two things now. Here, this is going to just. Oh, we can run it. Okay. Oops. This was not supposed to work.
Oh wait. Let's see here. getNum. This is it. So
no, it needs to be. Yeah.
If you do this, and then you say, this is, I think, what you're saying, JJ. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because this will return. Try that. Now, is that still doing it? Maybe it's two different thens.
No, it's we're not reproing the correct case, but this is definitely the broken way of doing things. And there was an email to the mailing list about this, but this actually bit me in my own code. So you in any case, remember to do the chaining.
It sounds like what we should do is let's take an action item. We'll write up a blog post. We'll repro the exact situation, and we'll show the don't do this and we'll show the do this version. So thank you very much for bringing this up.
Yeah. This is. I'm going to write up all of this stuff, and then I can add that stuff there. Can I make this slightly smaller? I actually can't navigate.
Okay. No, I'm really. This is going on YouTube later. It's bigger than.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
hang on. One more thing, Shaylin. So it used to be that you, as far as I can tell, you had to call, what is it, handle error, I can't see your code. It's a little bit up.
With the code where I define the function here?
A little bit higher.
That's just foo throwing.
Yeah. So it used to be that you had to call complete error or whatever, handle error, whatever, not handle error, but
complete error.
Complete error before, and that you couldn't just raise an exception. But Florian was saying that actually if you raise an exception, it'll be caught by the system and automatically translated into complete error. And he told me that, and I tried it, it didn't work, but I think I was using a slightly older version of the SDK. So this might actually be like brand new functionality where I think it might be the case that if you happen to raise an error, it will get caught and translated into complete error. And that makes life a little bit easier.
I wonder actually though if he was talking about something slightly different, which is in your then, if you raise an error.
Yeah.
That's where on error will kill you and catch error will beautifully help you out.
Okay.
But I'll try your thing also.
So it sounds like let's write up a blog post on the different ways these features can throw errors and the right and wrong ways to change it. This is great. Okay, we definitely need more here.
Okay, so on error. Now let's just go back to the way the editor, at least for now, is telling you to do this, right? The same get num. You call you call foo, and it throws. Get num again, calls foo, checks to see if there's an error, and sends out a complete error. Now, if you rethrow in your then, this will fall apart.
Oh, okay, so here we have then. We know that foo is going to throw an exception.
Right, so this will catch foo's exception nicely. On error will catch it. But because your then already also did some mischief.
Oh, so you're not rethrowing, you're just throwing a new exception here.
Yeah,
sorry, that confused me.
Throw something new.
Got it. Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Oops. Sorry, guys, I'm not used to this font. Okay. Throw something new.
Okay.
That something new now will not be caught by on error. But it will be caught by...
Why don't you run the code now? What happens?
Okay, so... This is not... It's making me look like a liar.
I think you need to change foo to return 4 and then throw from inside there. Right? Because the then clause will never execute the way it's...
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That's why I had it as that. Okay, I changed it without thinking. Here we go. Thank you, John. There you go. We called it foo return 4. So there was no problem here.
Yeah, no problem there.
Completed.complete happened normally. In here, you got into the then normally, and you printed the value, which I can attest actually happens. The number 4 was returned. That's a value. That's what you get. And then we threw something new, and at that point, all hell broke loose. There was no way to handle that.
Got it.
You do this with catch error. Okay? So again, you return a 4 from foo. You handle that. All the code is the same. And, okay, I won't call it rethrowing. I'll just say throw something.
That's fine there, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you run it.
Got it.
And it says, you threw something new. I can handle that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's the real, for me, a real blessing of using catch error. It's one of those things, it's just, I don't know if there's a bug to, okay, I don't know what scenarios there are where you would want to use on error and not catch error.
Cool, but we will find out, and we're going to document that for everyone. I like it.
One last point. This has been made by people on the mailing list. This is a huge point. So again, we go back. So this is about when you do error handling. If you wait too long, it's gonna bite you. Okay. So again, foo throws. Get num is exactly the same. It does what it was doing in previous examples. Now we call get num, and we put all of this stuff, the then or the on error, inside a timer.
Okay.
So anyone want to guess what happens here?
I know, so I won't guess.
But getNum is going to throw an exception.
Right. At
Okay.
this point,
And num is a future?
yeah.
Okay.
So I should have called it something better. It's not a number. It's a future num or something.
Okay.
Right? So at this point, the error's emitted, and there's no one to handle it. Because your on error is getting attached after 3 seconds.
Got it.
And in this case, on error is not to blame. The same exact thing happens if you use catch error. If you put it in a timer, okay.
Well, go back to the other example. What happens?
Okay, so oh, you want me to run it? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. There, uncaught. It says uncaught error, unhandled exception, blah blah blah, and it gives you all the details, right? If you do this with catch error is good for other things. So this works because I called getNum inside the new timer.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had done this, that should not work now. There.
So I think the key point you're raising is that there's a race condition here, and you need to make, if you're going to call something that returns a feature, you need to call .then as soon as you get that feature back. You can't do it later, because if you do it later, you're going to hit this race condition, and things won't be set up correctly.
And that's because if you miss a loop in the event loop, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
That's right. That's right. I can move to streams now. There's one. I'll just mention it. This is very simple. Not wait. I'm sorry. When complete. I actually don't know if this is brand new, but I don't remember seeing it before. Maybe it was called something else.
I don't know. Let's go down the code.
Okay. So again, here I've modified foo slightly to randomly either return the number 4 or throw a string.
Okay.
Okay. So again, getNum has not changed. It's the same. It just it does some try catch, and then it returns. Okay. In main.
Oh yeah, this is new. Yeah.
This is new, right?
Yeah,
So this is the equivalent. But when you write in synchronous code, when you write finally, where you have you try something, you catch an error, but whether you catch or or there's no abnormal termination, you want something to happen. So you put that in finally. Well, this is the async version of finally. Mm-hmm. So here we say, all right, we'll call getNum. If everything goes well, we'll print the value. That's here. If there's an error, we'll print the error. But regardless, we will do this.
Awesome. Run it.
Okay, so run it.
And you'll note there that in the source code, these are all chained. They're all chained from each other.
They are chained. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So in this case, in my example, I know this is a little small to read. You have the number 4 being returned because that's what foo gave you. And it says, when complete, run regardless of success or failure.
Okay?
Do it again.
I was going to file a bug that you're missing a comment.
Missing a comma,
but you fixed
okay,
the bug.
well, that's
that
the
nice.
same. Oh, there you go. So now it's through. Not going to give you an int, but this ran again. So, this is a very contrived example, but a more...
No, when complete is awesome.
When complete is great. But like, for instance, imagine, I think there's code in Dart.io where you sometimes have to create a temporary file or a temporary directory and then pass that to a function. That function could return something or it could throw.
Yeah.
Right? But in any case, you want to get rid of that temporary file or temporary directory when you're done. Right? So that's what when complete is about. Anyway, this is finally in an asynchronous context.
I love it. We might get kicked out of this room though. So do you have a quick way to show us some streams?
Okay, so I had 3 demos. I had a map by thing, but that's Adam and a bunch of other people talked about.
Let's try to at least what's the concept of stream? Show me a simple example.
Streams. Okay. All right, let me get.
You could probably drop down your font. I think people in the next room from me can actually see it.
The trouble though is when this goes back up on YouTube, we lose a lot. So we're gonna have to keep it big.
Okay.
But you can put a return there.
Okay, so why don't I just, this is a very simple example of a single subscription. And
Hey, sorry guys, can
Yes,
I just drop in? Oh,
Hello.
hello. Just have a quick interruption.
yeah,
No problem. Please ask away.
No. It's just that I was just up on the YouTube stream.
I'm sorry?
Oh,
Say that again.
yeah. The sound is a bit slow, but if you go into the YouTube stream, you can only see you three guys talk, and that's very exciting. But most people would like to see the code.
Yeah, no kidding. Weird. I don't know how to change that. Thank you for the heads up.
I have this on GitHub. Should I just put out the link?
Yeah, we'll put it in the.
We'll put it in the
YouTube.
show notes
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So, Seth, if you're doing the Hangout on Air from your laptop, why don't you click on the window that has the code?
I have. In fact, that's how I've been running it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Sorry, I thought that's what
So,
we did.
yeah.
is
that's-
everyone having this problem, or
We're talking about just the YouTube.
Yes.
just YouTube? Okay.
Can you? In the YouTube stream, literally not see anything else? Oh, cameraman. Oh, Google Effects. Sorry. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to work on that. What if I share my screen of the Hangout? We can go deeper.
We can.
Well, you know what? Okay, sorry. Well, apologies for that. We're gonna have to do some tests afterwards to figure out how to fix that for next time. We're gonna get kicked out of here really soon, so maybe we could just be really verbose with our description of what's happening here for the last couple minutes.
Not. Oh, you mean verbose? So they don't have that.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two kinds of streams: single subscription and.
Sorry. Well, let's back up again. What is a stream?
Actually, I could see the code now on YouTube.
Okay. Cool. Good.
Can I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Who said they couldn't? Can
That's
you?
Frank.
Frank. Frank, can you see it?
Well,
Okay.
if JJ can see, yeah, well, I'll make sure this is.
Sorry, can't. I haven't just looked at it.
Okay, no worries. Streams. What are streams?
What are streams? This is like the equivalent of what are futures.
Well, so I think we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. Like a future is a single event. A stream is a sequence of events
Yes.
that are asynchronous, that will arrive at some point in the future. In the same way that you have, like the future has a then clause. The stream, you subscribe to it.
You have a listen.
And you have an on data, which
Yes,
is really
an on
like
data.
on thing you care about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many examples of streams. You used button clicks, right? You can have a series of button clicks.
Yeah.
Bytes. JJ used I/O, a great example, right? Bytes in a file. Like give me when I've read a certain number of bytes of file over and over and over until the stream is closed. Bytes over a socket, right? WebSocket events is another good use for streams.
That would be another stream. Yeah.
Mhm. I'm sure there's plenty others, but that's a stream. And okay, cool.
So here's a very simple, streams 101 example of a single subscription. So the language is a little. So there's emitters and listeners. We emit events. Then there's also streams and subscribers. So the language is a little bit mixed up in our API,
Okay.
but it's the same stuff we're talking about. Something is streaming and something is listening or subscribing.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a stream. We create a stream from an iterable, a small list, 1, 2, 3, and we stream out the square of 1, 2, and 3. So the first thing that comes out of there is 1, because 1 squared is 1, then 4, and then 9. This is a contrived example. And this is a single subscription, which means there's only one subscriber to the stream.
Or the stream expects only one subscriber.
So nothing happens unless there is a listener. I'm sorry, I'm confusing that. Unless there is a subscriber.
Right.
Right? So we put all that in a map stream object. Mapstream.listen. Now we have a listener, subscriber, and it waits. So I is going to be 1. It'll print that. Then the next thing from the stream is 4. It'll print that. Next thing from the stream is 9. It'll print that. and it's done.
Yep.
The stream is exhausted. If you do this, we have a second listener. It will complain mightily.
Well, but before you do that,
Okay.
comment that out and run it so everyone can see.
Okay, so the true is for when I was asking if it was it a single subscription. Is it a single subscription? Yep, it is. And then print out each event, each thing that you got from the stream. 1, 4, and 9. That's what you get. If you try to do this again, it won't work. Bad state. Stream already has a subscriber.
Yeah.
You can't trick it, okay? But you don't need to trick it. There is a nice way to do this, so you can have the streamable by as many subscribers as you want. So let's look at this example. It's a simple example again, but the listening is more complicated this time. Okay, so again, we just call. Oh my God, how did I do this? Right here.
No, because you've defined stream.
Oh, I've defined it up there. That's why. Okay, I'm sorry. This is what happens. We have like 48 size font. All right, so we have a stream object that I've defined way up here. Okay, so all my functions can have it. And now I say, give me a new stream from this iterable 1, 2, 3, just like we did last time. And here's the important line: as multi-subscriber stream. And then you just say, okay, I'm going to just return the square of those 3 numbers with each time. So I have defined foo, bar, and bot. Hold on about foo right now. Bar and bat. Simply listen for everything coming from the stream, and then print out a simple message saying, in this function, this is
so
what's
each one of those functions sets up its own list, subscriber/listener.
Yeah. So there are 2 listeners for now, one inside bar and one inside bat. And we are, in fact, calling those 2 right here. Okay, so if we run this, it'll say, and I'm sorry if this is small, in bar I equals 1, in bat I equals 1, in bar I equals 4,
Yeah.
4,
so we
9,
see
9.
both subscribers dealing with a series of events just fine.
Right.
Got
So this is actually a simple case where this happens. If you look at the API, there's ways to do it so that it goes. So right now it goes 1 1 4 4 9 9. If you want, you can go 1 4 9 1 4 9, right? But in the interest of time, you can explore that.
Okay.
Exercise for the reader. Isn't that what you say when you don't want to go into something? It's an
Yeah.
exercise for the reader. But there is something else that's kind of cool about all this stuff, which is I've defined a function foo, which actually kind of just sort of mixes things up a little bit. Okay, so let's look at foo. Like bar and bot, foo said, I'm going to listen to this stream, and it does the usual printing. In foo, I equals I. But then it has a little bit, and John helped me with this yesterday. If I is 1, it says call bar also. If I is 4, call bat.
In other words, set up another stream listener, either at the beginning or the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
So arbitrarily we have picked these points to.
But what's really happening here is you're setting up a new stream subscriber in the middle of stream's ability to send events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So let's run this. So we'll go through this line by line. Okay. Foo is saying we know the stream is going to be sending 1, 4, and 9, right? So foo says, so you predictably will see in foo I equals 1. Great. If I is 1, you call bar. But you don't see that now. You'll see that the next time around.
Because you already missed the emitting of the event.
Right.
Yeah.
1
No, this
came
makes
and went,
sense.
and
Yep.
bar missed the boat on that one.
Sure.
So next time, when 4 comes out, it says I equals 4 in foo. Sorry, in reverse. In foo, I equals 4. In bar, I equals 4. So bar has gotten into the action a little late, but he's there now.
Sure.
And so in our code, we say if I is the same is equal to 4, get that into the action too. So now the third time when 9 comes around, well, foo consumes it first, bar consumes it next, and then bat consumes it. That's the only thing that bat consumes.
Sure.
there's a lot you can do beyond this. This is just a simple
I think
get you started example.
What this illustrates to me, though, is streams are really, it's a stream. And so if you introduce a listener in the middle of a stream, of course, he's not going to get any of the previous events.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he comes in right then for every other subsequent event.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, we could extend the list even longer. We could add like 16 and, keep going. And then all 3 of them would start getting everything past 4.
Bingo.
Yeah. So before I'm sort of rushing because I'm fearing a knock on this door that throws us out.
Yep.
So I, built a small little app. So when you create a new, let me just get rid of all of these. When you create a new web application using the Dart editor, it gives you that familiar click me. Well, why don't I just do it? Hold on. I'm sorry, folks. Okay. It's my computer. It's complaining mightily about something.
I think it's screen sharing too.
Oh, yeah.
But guys, make sure if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat window here, or of course, just pipe up, wave your hand. Was that a hand wave for a question? Maybe not. So anyway, make sure, we are here to answer your questions, so let us know.
All right, I screwed up. Never mind.
Let's, for the sake of time, let's just look at the async demo here.
Okay.
When you got prepared.
Okay. So you would get. Okay, I'll explain.
Don't worry about the old way.
Okay.
Tell us the new way.
So let's just run it, and you'll see it's familiar. Well, sort of. It's that click me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you click it, and it goes backwards.
Okay.
So now I do a few other things to it. Let's get rid of this. So the syntax you would
Why
have.
don't you minimize this?
Yeah. So the syntax you would have is.
So I'm gonna move it up one level. So what we're showing here, we're showing the use of streams and the new Dart HTML library together. So we're showing you some simple bit of browser code that is using the new streamified versions of Dart HTML.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the original code, if you were to create a new app, would create this element.
Show us what's going on here.
Okay. And it would say .on.click.add. Now we already talked. That's yesterday's news. What we do this now is l.onClick.listen. So onClick is going to give you a stream, and when you listen to it, you get a, John, is it stream subscriber?
Stream subscriber.
A stream subscriber, some stream subscription object. Yes.
Oh, that's returned. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So onClick returns a stream, and the listen returns a listener, which, if you want to go look at the API, is a stream subscription object.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I call the original reverse text function, and then it's a contrived demo of showing how you can pause the stream and resume the stream.
So that looks a lot like Ruby or Python code.
No.
Yes.
Why?
It's not camel cased.
Oh. Okay.
I'll follow the bug.
I can't put commas in the right places. I can't camel case. What am I good for? Okay.
GitHub has an issue tracker, and so we'll make sure.
We'll make
Yeah,
sure.
don't worry.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
send you a pull request.
Okay. Well, so what is pause?
You should probably actually, no joke, it'd be really cool to show off the renaming capability.
Okay.
Want to do that really quick?
Right-click and rename it.
Right-click?
Actually, Frank has a question. He's wondering what the return objects for all of those different things are. So maybe you could talk about the return object of onClick and the return object of onClick.listen.
Okay.
Great question.
Okay. So why don't I, instead of spending time on pedantic stuff,
Yes, I see the irony in me telling you not to spend time on
It's
pedantic
slippery
stuff.
slope, man. If you let this go, what's next?
okay. So so the stream object, so var stream.
Is onClick a getter? Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a field. Yeah,
All right.
That returns a string.
So maybe you could just right-click on onClick and right-click on listen in order to see the types?
Oh, maybe just hover, I think, maybe. Yeah,
hover
is that what you mean? With the cursor.
Yeah.
Let's fire this up.
Right-click.
What's going here?
I mean,
It's a stream.
Well, it's a stream, guys. I promise you. Stream. Okay?
No need to yell.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm yelling.
Take one exclamation point off of there.
Yeah. I thought about it.
Okay, guys. And subscript, which should have been named something slightly more pronounceable, is a stream
Subscription.
stream subscription. I actually have
You got that right there.
I have that. There we
Perfect.
go.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Is there anything that this new approach to HTML handlers can do that the old approach couldn't do?
Yeah, I'll demonstrate that. I mean, the old approach. Look, in plain JavaScript, if you want to add or remove event handlers, it's a complete pain, but you can do it, right? So there's all sorts of stuff that you can do now, but much easier. What happened?
Nothing. Ignore me.
All right, can I just sort of talk through this code, and I think I'll come back. I think hopefully that'll answer your question. Okay, so here we go. We get this element, which we found up here, right? We found an element with a particular ID, and we said on click, it's the stream, listen to that stream, and call reverse text. So click me becomes the reverse.
Okay.
And then you call pause and resume a horribly not camel cased, okay? So pause and resume
Horrible.
Yeah.
takes the subscription object, right? And it pauses, it calls a little helper. Maybe I should have not made my code so dry. Basically what it's saying is subscript.pause, okay? Here, it calls pause, and it basically toggles the class.
Okay, but let's go up a level. So subscriptions can be paused or resumed.
Correct.
Yes.
That's right. So when you
so what does that mean from a subscription? Without walking me through the code first, talk about the concept. So
okay.
The reason why you care about the stream subscription handle, subscr, right, is because you want to control when you getting events on that stream subscription, right? And you do that by pausing it
or
resuming it.
Okay.
Okay.
Or canceling it.
Or canceling it. Okay.
Right, John?
Yeah, if you're done with the subscription.
If you're done and you don't want to listen anymore, you cancel and you're out of there.
So now, the old way would be like on.click.remove event handler. And now that you have a subscription, you just call cancel.
And canceling is just canceling your subscription to this sequence of events. You are not canceling the stream itself.
Yes, the stream can be done, but that's an entirely different.
That's
exactly right. Yeah,
you need a stream controller for that. That's another topic.
Yeah. So this pausing, just so we're utterly clear, this pausing, resuming, and canceling is only about your receiving of the events.
Yeah, your
there could be other subscriptions to the stream,
and
if you call pause, whatever, they're not paused.
While a subscription is paused, any events that are emitted by the stream are buffered. So you don't lose any events when you're paused. The other people will get the events if they have a subscription where it's not paused. So you're not blocking the other subscribers. It's a choice for the subscription.
It's like a TiVo pause.
Yeah.
When you press play again, you resume where you picked up, not like where the time actually is.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So all I'm doing in this example, if we run it, I've been monkeying with it, so I hope it still runs. Okay, here, and I am actually going to give you a little bit of console help. I don't know if I can make that big. Anyway, the point is, in the default Dart example that you get, you click this and it becomes backward. You click that and you get click me again. And you can keep going back and forth. Pleasant. I decided to make it a little annoying, which is you can click, but then for 2 seconds it pauses, and after 2 seconds it resumes. So let me demonstrate that, and then we can look at the code. Okay. So I click, and I can click all I like. Nothing's going to happen. Now it's clickable again.
Got it.
Now it's clickable again. So look at. I don't know if you can. Can you make this big?
Let's not worry about that.
Well, I just want to talk about pause count.
But that's an internal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
like
an implementation detail.
Well, what we're seeing here is you are pausing your subscription. So even though there are clicks happening, your subscriptions, your listeners aren't receiving those things because it's been paused.
Yeah. So
which is cool.
The subscriber here is paused. I log that, and then I put a little timeout.
That should be timer.
Yeah.
Will that work?
You can make a timer up.
You can put timer. Yeah. Okay. And then I resume it, and pause and resume are just very thin wrappers for.
Yep.
Actually,
and
even if I was incorrect about the way pause works.
It may not queue it up.
It may not.
It may not
Okay.
queue it up. Yeah. So the important thing to take away from this is it keeps a reference count of this, right? So if you pause twice and you want to resume, you need to resume twice too.
Oh, that's the point. Okay.
If you don't, if you pause twice and resume once, it throws up its hands and says,
So
"I don't."
let's take a note and figure
We're
out
still
like
paused then.
Yeah.
let's figure out why that is. So there may be some reason there.
Yeah. So
Pause is not, you're not toggling some state, it sounds like, because you have to toggle it in the same amount, pausing and unpausing.
Yeah. So there is this. So here can you make this big? Oh yeah. Here we go. So I click, and it says pause count is 1, right? But then it just reverted back, and now pause count is 0.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what's happening. It's just it's a counter internally that's just keeping track of how many pauses, how many resumes.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, good. We're getting a question for Roman. Oh, maybe not. But this is a good time to say, we're going to wrap it up in just a few minutes. If you guys have questions, now's a good time to ask them. Jump in the chat, wave your hands, ask with voice. Any last questions about some of these new features in the Dart libraries? No? Okay. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys are updating all your code to M3. We've seen a lot of traffic on Pub as people are uploading the new packages, which is awesome. We're also seeing people take their new packages and put them onto Drone.io, which is a continuous integration service that has full support for native Dart apps. And so if you want to ensure that your code keeps working, then you should totally use Drone. It's very cool. Ah, yes, beer o'clock. I like it. And so lots of cool things to keep your apps updated and running all the time with our continuous integration partners, Drone.io. Very cool.
I'll write up all this stuff. I'll put it on GitHub, and I'll send out emails to the mailing list and to Dartisans.
Okay.
G+.
Cool. Well, let us know if this format works for you guys. It's office hours, and how we can make it better for you. We want to make sure you have a good conduit into the team, and if this live Q&A thing works for you guys, then that's cool. We'll keep doing it. So I want to thank John and Shaylin and JJ, and definitely thank all of our watchers and guests. Really, really appreciate it. You can find us on the Dart mailing list, misc@dartling.org. You can find us on Stack Overflow, tag Dart. You can find us on Google+, Dart, and our Dart Dartisans community on Google+. So lots of good ways to get a hold of us. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Mm-hmm. Everyone have a great weekend, and we appreciate it, and we'll see you online. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.